that takes considerable time. And so that's what we have been doing so far. The session today, I would like to take the opportunity in this session so this will be kind of a working session. So we will produce something out of this. So instead of just presenting the project, because there's not much added value, we would like to advance something. Okay, so this will be quite an extensive session. Okay, so we will start. We are a little bit late, but that's not a real problem. But we'll start. Well, I will introduce you to the project, which some 5 to 10 minutes, and then we will present. We'll have 4 people presenting full cultural landscapes that could become, and they will become, sub-projects within the TRIALOGOS project. Okay. And so each of these persons will speak for 15 minutes, introducing very briefly their project or their cultural landscape, if you want. And then we have a coffee break, and then we will have, we'll organize this room in 4 groups. So I would like to have the same number of people in each of the groups, and then we'll see, but probably one group stays here, another group in this part of the room, the other over there, and then the other over there. We will have parallel sessions, and in each group, you will be discussing with the leader of that group, of that cultural landscape, possibilities of transforming or of using that cultural landscape as a means to think, to imagine more sustainable ways of living or more sustainable ways of development, etc., etc. Okay, so that's the idea. Then at 12 we reunite and we come back for, so there's a session of feedback from each of the groups, and then we close. Just for you that are online, so as I think that I already told you this by mail, so now you are in these links, but then you will have to connect through the other Zoom links at 10:45, because it will be a link for each group, and then you come back to this link at 12. Now let me just quickly introduce the people that will be with us. I will start with Nada Elias, and so Nada is an associate professor in biological anthropology and archaeology in the Lebanese University, and she's also the director of the Douali Forensic Research Project. Is correct? Okay. Then Judith Medina do Nascimento, she's online with us. Let me just see if I can. Okay, now, oops, why can't you see that? Okay, you are supposed to be seeing the people on the screen, but you are not, and I don't know why. I don't know why. Because I closed the session. Queria mostrar as pessoas que estão online no... Não, mas isso já eu fiz. Não, a ligação está boa.
Nuno, no canto direito há um quadrinho com que está visualização. No canto direito. Dás um clique e aparecem as opções.
Há aqui qualquer coisa.
Há qualquer coisa porque vocês
no
não...
canto direito há visualizar, aparecem as opções.
Calma, o problema é os ecrãs duplicados. Quem é que...
Mas eu estou a apresentar, vou fazer a apresentação, estás a ver?
É isso que eu estou a dizer.
Dali daquele, pois é, o do...
Tu já paraste?
Eu já parei o sharing.
É que está o ecrã duplicado, então... Olha, a sessão Zoom foi encerrada. Eu não acredito nisto.
Ok.
A internet não está grande coisa. Espera aí, sim.
queria que, exatamente, sim, que o que está aqui passasse ali, e basicamente, sim, ou seja, que quando eu saio do PowerPoint aparecessem as pessoas ali, quando eu no PowerPoint aparecesse ali o PowerPoint.
Mas agora está a ver o ecrã.
Agora só mostrar em dois, não, também dava jeito que não aparecesse aí.
Já está.
É o duplicado, não é?
Já está, não vai.
Não, esse não.
Mas já está ali o sticker.
Pois é isso, é isso.
Obrigado.
Ok, obrigado. Não, não sei. Okay. So, going back to the presentation, so we also have with us online from Cape Verde Judith Medina do Nascimento, and she's a professor at the University of Cape Verde. She has a PhD in Geography, Territory Planning and Urbanism, and she's the former rector of the University of Cape Verde from 2014 to February 2014 to March 2022, and today she's a professor at this university. Magali Berrier, she's a researcher, a research artist, an essayist, a writer, and she's also the founder of Mémoire de l'Avenir and a co-founder of HAS, and she's joining us from Paris. Mariam Rashidi works also with Margalit on the Mémoire de l'Avenir. She's a researcher on the field of cultural policy and sustainability, art and citizens' participation. And then last, Renato Atias. He's a professor at the Department of Anthropology and Museology at Federal University of Pernambuco in Brazil, and he's the director of the Center of Research and Studies on Ethnicity. Okay, so and each of these people will present their cultural landscape, and we will then integrate those presentations in the project. Now, let me go back just to say a few words on the TRIALOGOS project, because, well, especially the students, you were not here last year, so so the idea of the TRIALOGOS project is that we, in this paradox of limits to growth, and the need of some populations to grow and to develop. Okay, so where we are a little bit stranded in the middle, and we don't know what to do. We have noticed that current and Asian cultural landscapes demonstrate that it's possible to combine the natural and the social or the cultural in ways that respect the balance between humans and nature, and without sacrificing the well-being of the different species, including the human species. And so we thought that, okay, why not looking at these cultural landscapes and see them as examples of the sustainable interaction between these two systems, and then probably imagine and translate them back to current-day societies and try to then implement them in current modes of existence. And given my background, why not going a little bit a step forward, and why not include these practices in the organizational work and in the world of companies and the world of companies and the world of the economy. So basically the research question is, how can cultural landscapes trigger new modes and models of development capable of mitigating existing tensions and resolving the paradox between the limits of growth and the need for growth, ultimately leading to a new institutional logic of sustainability. So this is basically the question that we are leading with this, or trying to respond with this project. And these are the main objectives of the project. So we want to start by identifying the variables and the dynamics that explain this tension. And we want to identify areas of intervention that could help us to mitigate the effects of these tensions. And then in the second step, we want to develop the necessary knowledge on those specific intervention points to that will allow for the transformation. We start by these specific points, transformation in these intervention points. So if you want, how can we use these landscapes that we are going to see today to produce transformation in those communities? And then the third stage is to enlarge this knowledge and to see whether we can apply what we learn in each of these cultural landscapes to a larger reality. I will just skip these, well, because this is basically what I already told you. And the landscapes that we have currently, that we are considering, so we have the indigenous peoples of Pernambuco, the indigenous community in Colombia, urban and rural communities in the Amalfi Coast in Italy, urban communities in Paris, rural communities in Albania, the eco-village movement in France, the island of Santiago in Cape Verde, and the Hadisha Valley in Lebanon, and then we are still making contacts for other cultural landscapes. But in all these, so the idea, so today we have 4 examples here, but the idea is then to create a federation of these cultural landscapes with specific projects in each of these cultural landscapes, and then have kind of a back and forth between knowledge acquired in each cultural landscape, and then we integrate that knowledge, and then we go back to each community, and then we integrate, so in successive movements of knowledge, co-creation, and co-reflection, etc. Okay? And so I will now pass the word to Nada, that will introduce the Hadisha Valley, and so probably you change with me, okay? Oh, yeah.
No.
Yes?
Can I just make a suggestion? This is based on the experience we had the other day when we had a hybrid meeting as well, is that when the speaker is speaking, if they could speak in front of the computer with your camera to the Zoom, it's easier to hear in the Zoom room.
Okay.
When you're facing that computer.
Okay. So you just
Thank you.
do you need the links? No. Okay. So that's so let me just go back to the Zoom. And then it's this one, isn't it? Okay. Then you can see.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being present here or online. So today I'm gonna present community settlements and usage of landscape during prehistory in Hadisha Valley. So we're proposing a new project, Hadisha Valley Research Project. this project is not financed yet, and we are looking for financing through Belmont Forum within the scope of TRIALOGOS. The Kadisha Valley is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, mainly because of the presence of one of the oldest Christian monastic settlements in the world in terms of history, architecture, and adaptation to the landscape. So most of these settlements are located in natural caves, okay, on the slope of the valley. So the fertile landscape of a big river as well as natural cave have probably led human communities to settle in this valley since prehistory. However, actually, there has been only one focus in the research done, the Christian monastic settlements. So you can see on the screen some of the most famous monasteries or chapels in the valley. So our question, we had many questions. Have other communities lived in the valley at some point of human history? Are there any prehistoric occupation prior to Christian monastic life? Did prehistoric men live in this region, and how can the environment affect the way of life in the valley? So this question led us to propose a prehistoric survey in the valley in order to shed the light on the prehistoric human occupation. So in this presentation, we will show why we decided to propose an archaeological and a social survey in the valley. Kadisha Valley is in the north of Lebanon. You can see here the map and a satellite image. It's on UNESCO World. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Here you can see the border of the valley. This is the map. This is a satellite image, and here we have more a photo without a map without background, so you can see the main rivers or Rio, and the big Rio and the region Kadisha River. Okay, and we have a lot of monasteries and Christian occupation. So you can see as well here the breathtaking landscape of the valley in summer and in winter. Actually, the formation of the valley may have been occurred 4 million years ago with the Great Valley Formation, Great Rift Valley Formation from Africa until the Levant. So we had the formation of two big chains in the Mount of Lebanon, the Mount Lebanon and Anti-Lebanon. Kadisha Valley is here in the north of Lebanon. Okay. So we think that the formation and geographically the formation of this valley occurred because of the Grand Rift. So we have in Lebanon the Yamuni Fault, and Kadisha Valley is perpendicular, was been formed because a perpendicular fault to Yamuni Fault. Okay. And Kadisha Valley is dated to the Jurassic period and to low and middle Cretaceous, which imply that we have a high risk of finding fossils remains in the valley. So this is the geological card or map of Lebanon. And while hiking, we found a big, like 7-meter fossilized remains. This will go under our project, the study of these remains. So now the state of art of prehistoric site in Kadisha. No archaeological survey has ever been done in Kadisha Valley. Only few excavation was been done in Mughri al-Ahwal, which is related to Kadisha Valley, but not inside the protected limit of the valley. So it was important for us to study, to shed light on prehistoric human occupation, and it's important to study ancient fossil of the valley. So this valley will help us contribute to discover and to preserve the natural and cultural heritage of the valley. Here you have some maps of Lebanon prehistorical site from lower Paleolithic to middle Paleolithic, and then we will see upper Paleolithic and upper Paleolithic. This is the location of Kadisha Valley. See, no archaeological or prehistorical survey was been done, but here we have a high potential of having prehistorical site. So this is the map of upper Paleolithic site in Lebanon and epi-Paleolithic site. So now in the valley, we know that we have a chronology of human occupation, like before human occupation as well, we have ancient fossil present. Our project, survey project, will include the ancient fossil present and the prehistorical human occupation. And we know that we already have Bronze Age occupation, Roman occupation, Christian occupation from the 5th until the 5th century AD, plus medieval occupation from the 11th until the 15th century AD, and we have a continuous occupation. So different communities across time until today were capable of adapting to the landscape and reach a balance with nature. So now we will focus on the state of art of the modern situation. Actually, in Kadisha Valley, we have at least 3 entities: the Maronite Church, the local population, and the UNESCO/DGA. DGA is the General Directorate of Antiquity in Lebanon. So for the church, the lands are owned by the church. Even the houses of the population are owned by the church. And the local population left the valley, so only 2 or 3 houses are still occupied for Yunnan and Germanus family. Because when UNESCO started restoring the restoration project, no social survey was been done. So, and the restriction imposed by the UNESCO to maintain the valley as a World Heritage Site are preventing local population to come back and live back in the valley. And the DGA was doing as well excavations, but in the Christian monasteries. So we, like people, we are like the valley is like a big museum, but it's empty from people. So the objective of our project, we have many objectives, and one of them is the survey, archaeological survey objective. As we already focused, we want to contribute to the archaeological knowledge of the valley, bring back the valley to life, and do a social survey. So we need a multidisciplinary teams. We will do archaeological survey, cave cartography, do databases from archaeology to mapping to photography, and know the state of art of archaeological features and sites from a previous excavation and future excavation plans. So this vast regional project is part of the development of Kadisha Valley. It will involve people of the region. We will do inventories, database of all excavated sites and cave, and set up an action plan for restoration, survey, and excavation. We'll have continuous publication. We will set up a virtual museum platform for virtual tours of cave in Diman, and we will set up a website for the project. We intend to have partnership with foreign university, especially here in Portugal, and museums to exchange expertise, and we want to build an international field school of survey. I will not go through the methodology of archaeological survey, but it will be simple aerial survey and field walking or pedestrian survey. And we divided the valley in 4 zones that we intend to study in 5 years to do the survey of all the valley. So I'll not go through the archaeological survey, but we plan of present and preserve the finding and discovery in a dedicated museum in the valley in Diman. So this Kadisha Valley transdisciplinary research aimed at transition for a more sustainable societies by first creating a research anthropological and archaeological center in An-Nubian and in Diman. We will have 2 places. And this center will have 2 projects: the prehistorical survey with the survey field school, the anthropological and social modern survey to bring back the local population, and we will inaugurate a cultural heritage museum for the valley. So for the creation of research anthropological and archaeological center, the church already gave us 2 places. One is in Diman, and we are using it now to direct the Douaihe Research Center that I'm co-directing. And we will have a house in An-Nubian to be a place. Maybe we can do an infirmary because people there don't have like the basic necessities for at least first securities. And then we have a cultural heritage museum who's now under construction. Actually, the structure is already built, you can see it, and it was been financed through a private donation to the church, and the church accepted to give us the museum to manage. So this is the project of the museum. Actually, we want a little bit to bring Março example with Luis and to put it in the valley, a little bit to have more cultural life. What? Without, I know your relationship with snow. Well, you can see here a little bit of the landscape, very beautiful landscape and difficult to access. And here you have some monastery implanted inside the natural caves. We have as well mummies discovered from the medieval period in one of these caves, and they are in the National Museum of Beirut. I will not go through the planning and the organization and stuff of everything, but we have a budget proposal of around 600 I'm not very good in numbers, but you can read it. Yeah, $600,000. So our discussion is actually that the previous project in Kadisha Valley, we're dealing with it as a big museum. This is why it was abandoned by its people. So, like, to be honest, it's an actual eco-museum. However, any new project needs to be multidisciplinary and sustainable in order to permit to local population of Nubian village to repopulate the valley and live back in their houses with at least the minimum living necessities. And our project is keen to open back the dialogue between different entities and establish reconciliation while mapping and studying ancient phases of the valley. You can see here photos of people from Nubian, and it's a small village actually. They live on agriculture and elevating animals, and it's a traditional community. Our project is a non-precedent survey that will shed the light on the prehistorical human occupation of the valley and on the ancient fossil presence in the valley as well. It will be the first international field school on an archaeological survey in Lebanon, and we are keen to exchange academic expertise and knowledge, and it will lay the foundation for international cooperation and research center between multiple universities and museums. And our main focus and aim is to help the modern local community to stay in the valley while adapting to the landscape and reaching a balance with nature and protecting the cultural heritage and landscape. I thank you for your attention. If you have any question, just tell me. Thank you.
Is there any... We are a little bit squeezed on time. So let's just make it one question, okay, because we have to go to the other presentations.
Hello, marhaba. I have a question concerning the architectural museum. Maybe I didn't notice where's the location specifically in the...
Yeah, it's in Diman, and Diman is one of the villages on top of the valley. So if I can show you on the map we saw, actually, the valley is in the middle, and around the valley we have many villages, like Diman is this one, okay? So this way, people that want to go down to the valley can visit the museum, and in this museum we will, like, it will be a kind of helper, so if we can, like, people will not access each cave, so it will be a virtual museum, and we will present as well the discoveries.
Okay, it's just that I wanted to know if there was a survey before constructing the museum, because it's very modern. If there was a survey with people, if they need the modern architecture, the museum, and everything.
Actually, the museum was built on private donation with the church, so I didn't follow up the construction phases and if they did a survey or no. But we know that we have, it's a pelerinage center, and more than 100,000 people came per year to visit the valley already, so they can pass and visit the museum.
Okay, thank you.
So now I would pass it to Judith, that will present the island of Santiago. Judith, if you want to share your presentation on the screen so that we could see it here, and the stage is yours.
Can you see my
Yes.
diapositive?
Yes, yes, yes.
So, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My apologies. I will speak in English, in French, because my French is more performant than my English, but my diapositive is translated in English. Thank you very much for your comprehension in advance. Je vous salue tout le monde et je commence par saluer et par remercier mes collègues Louis-Georges Terbec et Nuno Guimarães pour l'invitation à participer dans l'Apheleia 2023 et aussi à ces consortiums pour le projet TRIALOGOS. Je souhaite introduire deux notes préliminaires pour une meilleure compréhension de ma communication. La première note, compte tenu de la diversité d'origine géographique des participants, mes diapositives seront en portugais et en anglais. Je m'exprimerai en français, ce qui permettra à tout le monde, à chacun, de comprendre le message que je souhaite faire passer, j'espère. La deuxième note sur la structure de ma communication. Je commencerai par la présentation des paysages culturels de toutes les îles du Cap-Vert. Après, je ferai un zoom sur les paysages culturels de Santiago. Et de suite, à la fin de ma présentation, je donnerai le contexte géographique et surtout, je parlerai des raisons d'être de la zone que j'ai choisi d'étudier dans le cadre de ces projets que nous sommes en train de construire. Je n'ai pas encore un projet proprement, quelques idées pour construire ces projets. Alors, dans la première diapo, vous pouvez voir quelques informations sur le Cap-Vert pour ceux qui ne connaissent pas mon pays. Vous pouvez apprendre quelque chose sur la localisation géographique, la surface, la zone économique exclusive, la population du Cap-Vert et d'autres. Ici, quelques informations sur l'organisation du territoire au Cap-Vert et en ce qui concerne aussi l'organisation administrative du Cap-Vert. Nous avons 10 îles au Cap-Vert, dont 9 sont habitées. Une n'est pas habitée, mais c'est une zone préservée, un patrimoine écologique du Cap-Vert. Nous avons quelques îlots petites au Cap-Vert. L'île de Santiago, à laquelle nous avons choisi comme objet géographique de notre étude, c'est la plus grande île du Cap-Vert. Elle concentre 60% de la population totale du pays et elle a aussi dans son territoire la capitale du Cap-Vert. La capitale du Cap-Vert, la ville de Praia, concentre plus de 26% de toute la population du pays qui réside dans les îles du Cap-Vert. La ville de Praia, dans le contexte de l'île de Santiago, concentre 48%, plus de 48% de la population de l'île, de la totalité de l'île. Alors, c'est vraiment une très importante agglomération et il y a des raisons pour choisir cette ville et une partie de cette ville comme objet d'étude pour notre projet. Ici, nous avons quelques informations sur la population du Cap-Vert en comparant les résultats des census 2000-2010 et aussi une projection pour les census, une projection faite en 2019, les résultats des dernières census qui a été fait en 2021, ils ne sont pas encore disponibles, alors I'm so sorry for this. Notre système, comme vous pouvez voir, nous sommes un pays avec un régime démocratique parlementaire. Le président de la République n'a qu'un pouvoir représentatif du pays, mais il est aussi le gardien de la Constitution de la République du Cap-Vert. Le pouvoir législatif au Cap-Vert, il est dans les mains du Parlement, où toutes les franges de la société sont représentées par le biais des députés élus au suffrage universel sur les listes des partis et politiques au Cap-Vert. Le pouvoir exécutif est réparti entre deux niveaux de gouvernement. Nous avons le niveau central, c'est le gouvernement central, et nous avons qui est lidéré par le Premier ministre, et nous avons le gouvernement municipal qui est lidéré par un président qui dans le système francophone, c'est le maire, non? Le système national d'aménagement du territoire a 4 champs d'application géographique au Cap-Vert par notre législation. Nous avons le niveau national. Alors, nous avons un plan national qui donne des orientations sur la planification et la gestion du territoire au niveau national, concerne toutes les îles. Et c'est la responsabilité du gouvernement central. Et le champ régional, c'est en ce qui concerne quelques municipalités, ça veut dire ça prend une région et nous avons un plan qui définit les règles pour ce niveau. Après, nous avons le niveau intermunicipal et municipal aussi. Cela en ce qui concerne quelques informations pour que vous puissiez comprendre un peu comment est géré notre pays. Alors, à ce moment, je vais avancer pour la présentation des paysages naturels des îles du Cap-Vert. Alors, nous allons commencer par l'île la plus au nord, l'île de Saint-Ouen. L'île de Saint-Ouen est une île avec 33 200 habitants, d'après le census 2010. Et c'est une île montagneuse. C'est une île qui a son économie basée sur l'agriculture, les services, le commerce aussi, la pêche, mais l'agriculture, c'est la principale activité. Comme vous pouvez voir par les images, il s'agit d'une île très, très montagneuse et il s'agit d'une île où l'habitat est très dispersé. L'habitat est très concentré, distribué par les pentes des montagnes. Des montagnes vraiment très raides. Les pentes sont très, 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 très signifiantes. Et son agriculture est faite en profitant de la morphologie du terrain. Les agriculteurs construisent des terrasses sur lesquelles ils font leur culture. Ça veut dire qu'il y a une tentative de s'adapter au milieu, de créer quelque équilibre entre occupation humaine et équilibre écologique. Nous avons l'île de Saint-Vicent. C'est une île où l'agriculture n'est pas vraiment significative, mais c'est une île qui vit des activités liées au port, au principal port du pays, de l'île, nous avons une marine et nous avons une très, très forte agenda culturel au niveau de l'île de Saint-Vicente. Ça veut dire que la culture, nous avons ici des images du carnaval très connues. C'est vrai que nous avons ici les collègues du Brésil. Quand on parle du carnaval du Brésil, il ne faut pas parler d'autres carnavals, mais au Cap-Vert, dans une dimension un peu petite, le carnaval est aussi très marqué à l'île de Saint-Vicente. Nous avons l'île de Santa Luzia, je vous avais parlé d'une île non habitée. C'est vrai qu'il s'agit d'un patrimoine écologique du Cap-Vert. Nous avons des espèces qu'on protège et l'île est visitée seulement par des pêcheurs et par des scientifiques. L'île de San Nicolau a des caractéristiques très semblables à l'île de Saint-Quentin. Comme nous avons vu, c'est des pentes très marquées, une concentration sur le fond de mer et une dispersion au niveau des pentes des montagnes. Le carnaval est aussi présent dans cette île et les activités, c'est services, commerce, et pêcherie, pêche et agriculture, surtout agriculture. L'île de Sal et l'île de Boa Vista sont deux îles qui vivent du tourisme. C'est des îles dont l'économie est très basée sur le tourisme de plage. Alors, les deux îles ont des aéroports internationaux. Ça veut dire qu'ils ont un contact direct avec quelques pays au niveau international qui garantissent la dynamique de l'économie locale. L'île de Maio, qui a un paysage très semblable à l'île de Sal et Boa Vista, mais le tourisme n'est pas très développé encore. Et l'économie est surtout basée sur les services, les commerces, un peu de tourisme et aussi l'exploitation du charbon. L'île de Santiago, la plus grande, je vous en avais parlé, est une île qui est très diversifiée. Ici, nous avons toutes les activités. Nous avons la question du patrimoine historique est très marquée parce que ici nous avons la première ville, la ville capitale. Nous avons la plus grande concentration des barrages pour l'agriculture, pour faciliter les activités liées à l'agriculture. Nous avons du tourisme et d'autres. Je vais avancer parce que le temps passe. Alors, nous avons l'île de Fogo. L'île de Fogo est très marquée pour la sismologie et le volcanisme. C'est une île avec un volcan actif. La dernière éruption a eu lieu en 2014. Ça veut dire que c'est vraiment quelque chose de très récent. Le tourisme scientifique, la pêcherie, l'agriculture, la production du vin sont vraiment les activités plus marquantes. L'île de Brava est connue comme les jardins du Cap-Vert à cause de la diversité de fleurs qui se produisent dans cette île. Une île très, très jolie, toutes les îles sont jolies, même si je suis suspecte de parler de mon propre pays. L'économie est basée dans le commerce, l'agriculture, et surtout, il y a de l'argent qui est envoyé par la diaspora, qui est très, très significatif pour l'île de Brava et l'île de Fogo. L'île de Santiago, qui est l'île que nous avons choisie, comme j'avais dit, c'est la plus grande, il a la plupart de la population, mais il y a des informations très intéressantes. C'est que l'île de Santiago a la plus grande densité populationnelle aussi. Nous avons 276 habitants pour kilomètre carré à Santiago par rapport à la densité du Cap-Vert qui est de 121,8 habitants pour kilomètre carré. Et de 22 municipalités du Cap-Vert, 9 se concentrent dans l'île de Santiago. Et je vous montre ici à droite l'image de la délimitation administrative de chaque municipalité à l'île de Santiago. Très rapidement, chaque paysage culturel de chaque municipalité. Nous avons à l'extrême nord les Tarrafal, la municipalité de Tarrafal, où les activités principales sont le tourisme, les sports nautiques, les artisanat, commerce, services, mais aussi tourisme scientifique et historique. Nous avons San Miguel qui suit. C'est une petite municipalité dont les activités principales sont agriculture, élevage et artisanat. Et nous avons aussi le commerce, même s'il n'est pas très, très important au niveau de l'île. Santa Catarina, c'est la deuxième municipalité, la plus grande et la plus importante de l'île de Santiago. Et elle a une dynamique très grande du commerce, du service, et l'enseignement supérieur et la formation professionnelle sont très importantes aussi pour la ville d'Assomada et pour la municipalité de Santa Catarina, qui couvre tout le nord de Santiago. Ça veut dire l'agriculture aussi, c'est très, très, très important. Santa Catarina a été connue comme l'espace de majeure concentration de produits agricoles. Même on réalise, il y a ici au centre une grande image du marché, et c'est un marché très important dans notre pays et dans l'île de Santiago. San Salvador du Mundo est une petite municipalité aussi, dont l'agriculture et l'élevage sont les principales activités, autant que Santa Cruz aussi, l'agriculture, mais à Santa Cruz, il y a la formation professionnelle est présente et les services et les commerces prennent importance. São Lourenço dos Orgos, aussi, il y a l'enseignement supérieur, la recherche scientifique appliquée, et il y a aussi la formation professionnelle. C'est très important dans cette municipalité. C'est une petite municipalité, mais très importante. Il y a, les activités sont l'agriculture et l'élevage sont les plus importantes. São Domingos, très diverses, avec une forte présence de l'art et de l'artisanat, et même d'autres activités. Ribeira Grande est très importante parce qu'il s'agit vraiment d'un patrimoine historique de l'UNESCO au Cap-Vert, et le tourisme et l'artisanat sont très, 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 très présents, même si la pêche est la principale activité. Praia, c'est notre terrain d'études, il s'agit de notre capitale. Nous avons ici au centre le centre historique qui est aussi très important en tant que patrimoine historique. Nous avons l'enseignement supérieur, nous avons 10 institutions d'enseignement supérieur, dont 5 universités. Le tourisme est très important, l'élevage aussi à la périphérie de la ville, et les services. Il y a une diversité de paysages culturels très grande, des extrêmes même des paysages, comme vous pouvez voir ici. Il y a des paysages très contrastants. Alors, notre question de départ pour le projet est comment la construction. Nous avons un nouveau campus à l'Université du Cap-Vert. Comment la construction d'un campus universitaire dans un paysage culturel particulier pourquoi? Parce que la région où le campus est construit, c'est une région qui n'était pas occupée et l'occupation est très, très récente. Alors, elle a une particularité aussi de conditions naturelles. Comment la construction de ce campus universitaire dans ce paysage culturel particulier peut-elle servir de source d'objets de recherche transdisciplinaires sur la transformation sociale, patrimoniales et infrastructurelles qui conduisent au développement durable des communautés qui sont environnantes. Les cadrages de notre étude, vous pouvez voir ici la ville de Praia et la localisation de notre terre d'étude. Ici, c'est le campus de l'Université du Cap-Vert et nous pouvons voir les localités qu'on a choisies comme localités d'étude. Cette localité, Cayada, c'est une nouvelle occupation. C'est surtout classe moyenne et surtout liée à l'existence de l'Université du Cap-Vert. Nous avons des collègues, professeurs universitaires, qui ont acheté des terrains et ont construit sa maison dans ce quartier. Nous avons un quartier sur la vallée, au fond de la vallée, ici, qui est un quartier très pauvre et qui s'est développé dans les derniers 3 ans, aussi lié à l'existence de l'Université du Cap-Vert. Et nous avons un quartier de classe haute et moyenne haute, qui aussi intègre cet espace. Ça veut dire que dans notre projet, nous aurions une diversité aussi des caractéristiques des quartiers qui sont autour de l'Université du Cap-Vert. Et basé sur un diagnostic que nous allons construire et surtout avec un dialogue avec les communautés, nous avons l'intention de construire des solutions durables et appropriées aux défis de développement des secteurs urbains, surtout de ces secteurs plus pauvres, dans une approche interdisciplinaire pour une nouvelle logique de durabilité territoriale et sociale qui puisse conduire à l'amélioration des conditions de vie des familles, ainsi qu'une amélioration des conditions urbaines de la zone d'étude, de toutes les zones d'étude, en capitalisant sur les potentiels locaux, à la fois du point de vue des conditions naturelles, aussi bien que humaines. La méthodologie que nous allons suivre, c'est la méthodologie proposée, c'est l'approche théorico-méthodologique proposée par le consortium TRIALOGOS. Nous entendons établir un diagnostic sur les conditions d'adaptation des communautés aux conditions physiques, les activités développées par les résidents des communautés, les relations qu'ils établissent avec le reste de la ville, les niveaux d'intervention urbaine dans chacune des communautés étudiées et les conditions de vie et des communautés étudiées. La faisabilité du projet, elle est claire. Nous avons un accès très facilité aux communautés étudiées et aussi un accès à l'association des résidents et aux maires et à la mairie, et même aux opérateurs de transport collectif urbain pour pouvoir voir la question de l'accessibilité de ces quartiers. Et le centre de recherche CIDLOT à l'Université du Cap-Vert a déjà disponibilisé à accueillir ce projet, et l'Université du Cap-Vert aussi. Et ici, quelques prochaines étapes, mais comme je suis déjà au-delà de mon temps qui m'a été disponibilisé, alors je vous remercie bien pour votre attention. Vous auriez certainement accès aux diapositives et quelques questions. Je suis disponible pour répondre. Merci beaucoup.
Merci Judith. En effet, nous sommes un petit peu en retard. Nous sommes 5 minutes en retard et moi je suis un petit peu... sorry, I should speak in English. Sorry. So we are a little bit late. We are exactly 5 minutes late and I'm a little bit crazy about timing. Okay, so so let's since we will have then the parallel sessions, you will have the opportunity to discuss with Professor Judith in the parallel session, so you will have the the opportunity to exchange during that 1 hour session. I would go now to Margalit and Mariam. I will ask you, Margalit and Mariam, if you could share your presentation and try to keep to the 15 minutes. Otherwise, we'll be hitting the coffee break, the time of the coffee break. I have no problem with that, but I don't know if the audience has problems with that. Okay, Margalit, Mariam.
Yes, no. Just as we agreed together before the session, so I leave this one to Margalit completely so that she can go through the examples at MDA, and then in the parallel session, I will just try to maybe guide the discussion around how artistic approaches can lead to these developmental issues that we are addressing in this conference.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. So Margalit, if you want to share your presentation.
Yes, I do. I'm sharing it right now. And here it is. And you tell me if you can see it very well. Is that good?
Yes, go on.
Yes.
Okay. So I will try to be short because there is so much to say, like you have seen. And thank you very much for the people before me because it was extremely interesting. As you can see, seems to be the dialogue supposed to be easy, but in fact it's very complicated when you try to pass stereotype prejudices. Culture, of course, reflects nature, and with art we can pose all those questions, mostly on the question of identities. And I put a very short list of so many other things that we can question together. Education for all, to start with, all ages, peace education, gender issues. Those, if we manage to get to know the other, we can also take care of the earth. If we want to care to the one who is my neighbor, I will take care to my river. So then there is ecology, climate change, being and things, histories with the H and the I in between parentheses, identities, memories, pluralism, work with philosophy, use ethics and aesthetics, interculturalism, pluridisciplinary approach, always work with other fields of research, global understanding, rich global understanding, fairness on subject as fairness, equality, respect, rights and obligation, we don't only have rights, freedom of expression, autonomy of each, empowerment of women, of young people, of migrants, deal with differences while underlying similitude, work on the issue of liberty and mobility. How does it move? Next one. Why doesn't it move to the next one? I don't know. Hold on. I don't know why it doesn't move to. Yes. Okay, good. So I pose this question. What are your experiences with the arts, with creativity, and or with cultural specialists collaborating in multicultural and transdisciplinary approach, also in education, also in care issue, also in ecology, etc., science, research, in order to reach an inclusive and fair future for all? My answer was that with the arts and with culture, and my answer concerned us, our project, with the arts and with culture, as a major contributor force for healthy society within this Anthropocene and digital age, where only creativity, to my opinion, represent uniqueness of each, can help us to get out of the box and can lay innovative cornerstones to build new horizons. I like this sentence: to be human is precisely to be responsible. It is to feel by placing one's brick that we can contribute to building the world. Antoine Saint-Exupéry. So with culture and artistic resources, we must work beyond all borders, political, religion, etc. In order to go and work with society, I consider that as an artist, I have to establish also tools. So we went from research to action, building different pole of work. So there was a pole of using the arts as a tool of dialogue, the methods we developed, and I will go later very fast on each. We have to work also locally, but it must reflect also on global issues. We have to use mission in order to avoid questions that I mentioned before. We also developed formation, transmission, and eventually I will not have time to show everything with you, but there is also exhibition and events and time of performances and debates and so on. And we collaborate together. We have a few people working together, including Louise Osterberg, Nono, Mariam, and other people with the city of Paris, with the prefecture, with the Minister of Culture, SIPSH, of course, and UNESCO Most, of course, and Global Understanding, the Year of Global Understanding, IGU. With the arts and with creativity, using cultural resources, is working also with and for people to start with artists, include artists, scholars, project holders, scientists, thus to incorporate multidisciplinary competences for global understanding, promote inter-individual and intercultural exchange, and they are not the same. Each one of us is different. It's not because we are all women or all laik, Jews or whatever, we are the same. So each in his own difference within cultural context, work on multiculturalism for a greater knowledge of also culture, but also of the others that next to us. Build a network of studies, of workshops beyond borders, and we, as Mémoire de l'Avenir Humanities, Arts and Society, have worked in France, Israel, Palestine, Portugal, Africa, in different places, Afghanistan, Turkey, Germany, etc. Connecting citizens who learn to first identify, then recognize, express with respect, dialogue, also on their own differences as on what we share between us. Appreciate and attest the richness of nature and as the source of all lives, because everything we know was the way we have questioned nature and learned the world of all things and of all cultures. The vital importance of this knowledge should be this bio-network, an ecosystem that include also humans, work on fairness, on equality, facing also the law of nature, but also the law of people. So the first one that I started to work with after research and session of symposium was a workshop training where we have been sharing our methods, how to use the arts, how to use creativity in developing dialogue, and why. The symposium usually included an interdisciplinary event that bring together artists, scholars, scientists, and members of the local communities that had answers. And each one of us should share what we have to demonstrate first why, and then how with the arts and creativity when also I know it was mentioned that in the last two presentation, raise awareness on all the questions I mentioned before, raise new questions because we all live in a movement, in evolution, reflection, philosophical reflection on concept, and also create activities, be an actor. Develop projects beyond all boundaries, also personal, cultural, social, economical, and political. Leading to workshop, this kind of symposiums always led us to finally a set of workshop, exhibition, conferences, and develop common activities. All the photos I showed you are part of the different projects that we have taken. The workshop training and exchange is first to emancipation for artists. Get them for self-autonomy. Show that the art can be a profession. It's not only what I do as an artist, that I produce art, but how do I use my art within as a profession in hospitals, in schools, in social centers, in migrant situation, in the cité, in ecology question, and so on. Share fundamental tools for cultural mediation. So we have developed a kit, pedagogical kit that we share in accordance to the objective and the methods of Mémoire de l'Avenir as using the arts as dialogue, but then we also get from the others, which that's what's so interesting in those moments of sharing workshop training. Inside new association, also between artists that are locally or globally working on similar theme, and also between artists and scholars, and that's how I've gotten to work with Louise Osterberg, with Nono, with Benno Werlen, and so on. And also invest in your community, in cultural centers, in research, and mostly connect with research personalities that can help and can contribute to your own research, and with people. All people have ideas. I give one example immediately. In 2023, we have an atelier with the artists en exil, for example. Those are artists that came from Ukraine, from Russia, and from other countries. We were partnered in this atelier with La Bourse et la Commerce, with Pinot. And we focus on the subject of Anthropocene art, relationship between humans and other livings, and between humans and nature within the city. And our target public that we used in this workshop training is youths that are newcomers, that are in a special class called in mise en niveau, which is an integration class, and it's in a very difficult part of Paris. That's where it's happening. I also show very quickly, without going into detail, but one of the works happening in Nazareth with Palestinian and Israelis, people that are from all culture. We have the Muslim, the Druze, the Bedouin, the Charkas, the Jewish, and the Laik working together, sharing tools. In Afghanistan, this is in Afghanistan, I have a group of artists working in the Beaux-Arts, where I had them also here in a symposium questioning homosexuality in Afghanistan, in Kabul, questioning the woman place. Also in Nazareth, in the Mahmoud Darwish Center, we have worked with women only, while in Nazareth earlier we had men and women. Here we have a set of women, also Jewish and also from all other cultures, and Laik, of course. This is in Afghanistan, still with the students. Here we have a special school, of professional school working on beauty, and we could aboard aesthetic and ethics as the beau and the bon. And that was a wonderful class to teach people that in their course of life, they can invest as artists in also what value for the people as beautiful, but as also as good. Here in Na'amat Center is a woman organization for Palestinian and women in Israeli women from all around the territory of Israel and Palestine, usually working on very difficult issues of women, and we gave few of this workshop training. In Paris, in the Institut d'Islam, Cultural Institute, in prisons, and so on. So I go on in my next. Then we also said that all this knowledge can go into the enterprise. You know, that's one of the things that I think we should not only speak about children or migrants or women where there is money to work, but there is usually no money to work with men, and there's no money to work with families, and mostly with enterprise. So here we have worked with some group or research group in enterprise to show that if groups are having interest and scope on climate, participating in activities that are considering with changement climatique for enterprise, or they are concentrated on community issues to develop the condition for sustainable living together in multicultural societies, where each enterprise is a small landscape of multicultural interdisciplinary groups, and also how to work with your territory. Where are you inserted as an enterprise, and how to be an actor within your territory. And this is one example of a workshop we did in the enterprise, posing questions: what are my motivation, what are my engagement, my rights, my responsibilities, to start with, how each can actively use creativity to participate in limiting also climate change, not only questions of living together, examining with creativity urgent issue, as of course we are coming from like the RATP, when they asked us to come and work with them for the first time, they said we have newcomers that are sensitive to the Islam, and the others coming from other countries in Europe, how to deal with this multiculturalism when people need to also work together. So, and also what really worries most people today is the age d'Anthropocène. So what does it mean? What kind of worries? What can I do? Apprehend one's ability to transmit his own first identity and get to know the identity of the other. What does it mean, liberty, when the liberty is limited? When do we limit the liberty of the other? Each one of us obviously is very different, but what can we share between us? And I remember in Nazareth, I had two women who work together for years in the same place. And during this workshop, one of them discovered that the other come every day from far away the north, and it takes her about 2 hours in the border of Lebanon. And she has a handicapped child, which explained so many things. For years, they never posed question, what is your life? And work on social cohesion and develop a condition for a long-lasting good for life. So you can see examples. We worked only with a camera and collage. We first took photos, and then people found words that meant to answer all those investigation we went through. And we had this huge exhibition with big posters with their ideas about the enterprise. And then this led to a whole series of workshops in the field. Each workshop starts with, first of all, what we call preservation, cultural preservation from Neolithic, Paleolithic up to modern art, contemporary art. Art reflects our life, all the questions we just posed before. And we're using the arts as, first of all, to show that what we are is also the past, the present, and the future. It provokes insightful, sensitive, intuitive journey. It's not a conference, never a conference. It's only a dialogue between participants and us, questioning beyond borders, opening windows to question all the questions that may bother youth, women, adults, migrants. We inquire together then on histories, individual and collective identities, on pluralism, on memories, on traditions, on habits, on colonization, decolonization. Fantastic in Museum Quai Branly. We wrote the first parcours, the dialogue for youth on decolonization, how youth recognize objects that can tell stories about their lives, about marriages, about the bijou, the jewelry, about the carpet in the house, and how we gain appropriation of objects that were taken through colonization and can reflect our diversities. Learn dialect, languages, very important, the resource of languages, topology, and technologies. During the Institute of Monde Arabe, for example, we talk about morals, ethics, and philosophies, aesthetics, and others. In the mediation, we use then symbols as a tool and cultural references. In Greek, we say a symbol is an object that is cut into two and divided between host and guest, and it will pass to their children through the history. It's at one point will be reunited as two parts that recognize the relationship and the hospitality between two strangers. And that's what makes us being part of this one humanity, one only race, the human race, and part of the world. And it's a sign of recognition. And with the arts, we can read, with symbols, we can read archaeological places. Artists can participate in all those discoveries, research places that you have mentioned just before, using intuitive and sensitive experiences, playful, instinctive, and instructive manners to question and they decrypt the world of nature and to learn cultures. This is just very fast some examples in different museums. For example, in the Science Museum, we can learn on agriculture, on spices, on habits and traditions. Then if we are in the Museum of Modern Art in Centre Georges Pompidou with Francis Bacon, which I showed it in Kabul also. It was a very big surprise for the professors in Kabul. And I said, what is that? Is that a man or is it a woman? Of course, they couldn't say, not a man, not a woman. So what does it mean to be both? What are the colors? What is the language of the colors? What is abstract and concrete language? Where am I? Am I in or am I out? All those terms via one painting that can explore so many questions. Or another piece of work in the Centre Georges Pompidou, recycled art, outsiders, artists, what is the role of an artist in society? Or in the Louvre, questioning Islam, Judaism, and Christianism via the language of the culture. So music, we use music to question the world. We use letters and images. We discover culture via this. We discover also there are role of women, of artists in the 20th century, from the past. And we also learned pretty much on the bio network and the role of each in society. And then we start with the School of Dialogue. We have faith. I'm giving you all our little tiny methods. And man is a political animal. Yes. I stop. You want me to cut down?
Well, yes, you are already 5 minutes past the time, so we.
Okay,
we
okay,
really have
all
to
right.
go to the
Okay.
and also we lost it for a moment. So if you could just close, and then we pass to the workshop session, you can share
Okay.
the rest. But because I'm just a little
Okay.
bit concerned because otherwise we will not have time for the.
Yeah, I
workshop.
totally, no, I understand. So there are many examples too. We're not going to go through them, but we have tools to use how to develop a dialogue between people who are not really want to discuss it for a stage. And you can see here examples from Afghanistan, from Germany, and so on. Also, we have other tools to develop games and to incite people to talk about themselves, about their own cultures. Each workshop is about 20 hours of workshop minimum. And just very quick examples in prisons, for example, here you have also prisoners, but you also have the people who work in prison. Who is who? And via photography, we can analyze the photography become a tool of analyze, a tool of critical thinking, a tool of communication also. Also the way of rehabilitation, positioned by yourself, self-esteem, also a tool of learning. So that was a whole another project about the body, about the self-esteem. This is another project with women, speaking about inventory of women and why women will speak also about human rights, but also specifically on women rights, sharing between them, because women often take care of birthdays, of holidays, of traditions, of habits, of laws, and questions also violence. Via all those classes, women have delivered stories of specific personal violence for young girls as much as for adults. So what exists is social protection, social justice, feminicide. This is another example of women who sharing knowledge about cooking that happened in Israel and Palestine. There were many Arab, Jewish from all different cultures speaking via embroidery, ceramics, body language, writing, and it has been exposed all around Israel and Palestine in key places from Bethlehem to Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This is with the third age group, how you get a connection with young people.
Margalit, sorry, we
Okay,
really have
Okay.
to stop because otherwise we are just
Okay.
already going into the time of the coffee break.
Okay.
And we still have
Okay.
one person to speak.
Okay,
So,
very
sorry for
good.
interrupting you.
Sorry.
All
No
the examples of
Okay.
Memoir David are really, really interesting. But then we have to move to the other presentation of Renat and Maria do Carmo.
Yes.
So, and if you have questions, so let's keep them for the parallel sessions, okay? So, Renat, I will welcome you now to this session, and I'll just tell the audience that we will then do the coffee break a little bit smaller, okay? So let's try just to have a coffee and come back in 5 minutes so that we can then proceed, okay? Renat, the stage is yours. You have to switch on the sound.
Yes, thanks. How many minutes, in fact?
No, you have 15 minutes. So you have 15
Okay.
minutes. 15 minutes, okay?
Okay.
So
I short my presentation to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Nuno, and very nice to be here with you, with all of you, because I don't know how many people are in there. I'm not sure how many people, but it's okay.
About 35 people.
They can see us.
They can see
We
you.
can see them. Okay, that's very interesting. And I am director of NEP. NEP is a group of research inside my department, anthropology and museology, is a big department with a big, and we have in my research group that we work with, and we'd like you really to get together in this project with different researchers, and mainly with the indigenous people here in state of Pernambuco. Say state Pernambuco because we are a federal republic in different position, different states. And the state of Pernambuco is 90 million, the population of 90 million, and we have, we are not very big in terms of extension, territorial extension, but I can't, I'm trying to share my screen, and let me see if I'm going now. Okay. And if you see the state of Pernambuco, as I said before to Judith, is the more close to Cape. It's here, Pernambuco. Okay. And I organized my presentation in 2 bits, in 2 parts. One is a show in terms of the indigenous people in Pernambuco, but in national context. And when I speak in terms of national, but also you need to understand because you are in terms of the state of Pernambuco and of the whole Brazil. The whole Brazil, the population, 250 million of people. The indigenous people in Brazil, and also in terms of the world, indigenous people. Normally, in English, there is different names. If I'm in a state, I'm saying native people. If I'm in France, I'm saying autochtone, people autochtone. In Brazil, normally we say Índios, or you can say, listen also povos indígenas, but most of the time they say povos originários, so the First Nation, as they say in Canada, okay? That is very important to understand because it's not only one classification, but also sees the perspective of the others about the indigenous people. That is most important for us in terms of the anthropology. Landscape is a very important word now, but landscape in the 500 years have been discovered, have been described, have been talked about, and have been part of the destruction of the indigenous people, okay? Most of people that take the land, you know. I took this picture that is interesting to see how you can measure the people that is in different kind of situation with the colonizer, the people who came from abroad and make a contact with the indigenous people. I have more things to do to speak about this picture, but just to say that represents a lot of our interpretation and our study with the indigenous people, and also make them protagonists of their own story. Here you can see mainly, basically, all the environment of the state of Pernambuco, and also the different color here means that's the kind of administrative area for the environment. The state have different framework in terms of work, in terms of not only work, but in terms of explore the lands or the territory of the state of Pernambuco. I put here, that is very interesting image. And you can see in letters in black, some of the indigenous people names, okay? And this map is made from the 18th century. Of course, most of the information that we have here comes from the description of the people. Most of the time, we read the church, the Catholic Church, description about the people here, okay? And that was the first contact. The first contact with the indigenous people was with the Catholic Church, and the idea to transform. That was always the way to transform people, or to make them Christian and change completely the way how they think, and also the way how they organize themselves, all the social organization and all the comprehension of the world, the cosmology, that means to change by one comes from in this case, aquí from Portugal, in the 16th, 17th century. Here is another map, okay? And we try to see only the municipality where they have village, indigenous people in Pernambuco, and their village here in the state, you know? In the beginning, in terms of Brazil, the whole Brazil was 5 million indigenous people. Today, in Brazil, maybe 1 million. The other that was completely okay? And the population in the terms of the state of Pernambuco was 9 million, and only here in the state today is about 50 or 600,000 people in different indigenous groups, in different ethnies that we have in terms of the state of Pernambuco, okay? What I'm saying, that's the pressure to change the way how the indigenous people live in Brazil now is 500 years. It's not easy to understand and how you try to think more how to empower them and how to. It's not the state of Pernambuco. This is a part of the state of Pernambuco. Only this bit here, just this bit here is that, and what's here is the name of the indigenous, the name of the people, né? Aticum, Pancará, Pipipã, Cambiuá, Capinauá, Chucuru, Tuxá, Funhô, Pancaiucá, Pancararu entre serras. That's the name of the people. And here is the land. The land, you know, the land is minimal. The biggest landlord in Brazil have more land than the whole indigenous people of Pernambuco. So that is a big problem in terms of this study, in terms of our proposal for you or for the project. We not all the indigenous people be part of the study, but only three people. Is the Funhô, it's here, the Pancararu, the Capinauá. Okay? We have read a lot of research that was done in the past 20 years with the indigenous group, and different books and texts, and we have also worked together with the indigenous people, with the Funyo, with the Pancararu, and with the Capinawa. Today in the Capinawa, we try to organize with them our research group on MAPI and our research with the Capinawa. We try to organize a museum, a virtual museum, and a museum inside the land. And that's very interesting, project inside the other that's important. So what I'm doing now in this moment, just to show a few things or a few facts about each people, and then maybe you have some questions, okay? Okay, that is a Funyo. Sorry, Pancararu. The Pancararu, they are here. This the land of Pancararu is only 14,000 hectares. Only that, 14,000 hectares. This is the lake that was built in the 90s, and most of the cultural heritage of the Pancararu now is under the lake. The big thing is very. This affects a lot, not only today, because they can't see anymore, and they can't go to the different places because it's a big lake, big lake to do a dam. And this is the way how they live today. Okay, they are in contact with the Portuguese, then the Brazilian people since the 17th, and now they live in this way. And the total population of the Pancararu is around 6,000 people, and they live compressed in this land. That's not very good for make agriculture, because it's a very semi-arid, very dry lands, and they have kind of difficulties, very difficult to plant. There is so many people for a small piece of land, like I'm saying 14,000 hectares for 6,000 people. Okay, this is very dense population, and part of the land have this kind of collins. Now, just for the Pancararu, I will show something that is important for them, not only for their identity, but also to recover the way how they think of the ecology, the way how to organize in terms of the environment, and how the projects are dealing inside the land. Just a minute, I'm just go to the other. Oops. Sorry, just a minute. Let me see. And you can see a little bit about our methodology of work. Here, you can see a text that was published in a journal in São Paulo, The Enchanted Force, Dance and the Ritual among the Pancararu. All the ritual is dealing with if you can see in terms of the nature or in the environment, everything is related. and all the dance, all the way how they produce this ritual, they are linked to the big enchanted force of the spirits and dance and ritual. And that's important because the knowledge that when you go there, you have not only knowledge about the dance, but you have knowledge about they are linked to the whole environment. I show some photos. That was the first umbu. That umbu is a fruit that you celebrate at the beginning. This is how they dance and how they are linked to the enchanted force. It's the women that use it to, and all those pics, those photography is made by Carlos Estevo de Oliveira. Is an anthropologist that went there in 1937. I took this photo, but the text that we produce for these photos is written in a way how you can see everything and how the knowledge are related to the Pancararu, and how not only passing the knowledge, but how they want to be the president for the order. I can send you later on one. The other thing that's very important for us, we work all the time with the indigenous people. They publish with us, we work together, they are research like us, okay? Here, for example, I'm work with Sarapó Pancararu to produce this text. And that is the very important thing, because all of them must to be knowledge about the thing that they produce.
Okay.
Pancararu. The other group is Capinawa. The Capinawa, they are located in a very small piece of land, very, very small, less than the Pancararu, but they are in the very national park, archaeological and historical park in the middle of the semi-arid lands. Just some photos about them, but also to see how they are located. Okay, that's the land of the Capinawa, but this here in green is all part of the park, the national park that we call Parque Nacional do Catimbau, and how the village are located inside the park. And that is start to have a very big, because they are protected all the park, and how all the knowledge are related to this, not only for the park, but relate how they are lived in the past, okay? And the Funio, and I'm finished, Nuno, the Funio they are 7,000 hectares in the middle of a land, and they live inside the city, inside the municipality, okay? We can say, maybe we can say urban indigenous. They live inside the village. They have also the way how they use. See, you can see the houses, because they are compressed in the village. Even they have big land, but also they are living this way, like the Islam. Or that is very
And
very, very. And this is important to say that in terms of this project, the TRIALOGOS, we are work with only 3 indigenous people, only 3 groups, and with this nation, with this you need to produce in terms of to understand of the relate with the idea of landscape, and also semantize the idea of landscape that coming to us from the other disciplinary field, that we have a different comprehension, understand about landscape, but also we have a lot of information in terms of ethnography, and not in ethnography dissociate from the reality, but inside the reality. This reality is part of also the ethnography about the people. Okay, I'm leaving for in this moment, because if I go to the other part, I'll be more time, and it will be very difficult for us to finish. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renat. Thank you for your very interesting presentation, and it's exactly this type of transdisciplinarity and involvement with the local communities. This is what we really want for our project. I know that Maria do Carmo was asking for 5 minutes, but I think that we I'll give 5 minutes to Maria do Carmo, and then we will do a 10 minutes break, and then we reconvene for the different breakout sessions. Okay. But the break will be just 10, so give me just 5 minutes for Maria do Carmo to intervene, and then 10 minutes break, and then we reconvene. Okay, Maria do Carmo, if you want to.
Yeah, very, very shortly. I just would like to complement the presentation from Renato, because we both, I think, are going to be very interesting, because I'm going to bring the biological and the engineer aspect, what the pressure of this indigenous population has had along the time. With this Itaparica Dam, for example, it's a big energy production, and this group, they have a very bad impact with this, and we can evaluate how were this population before the dam and now, and what could be done to minimize this impact, what can be changed from this point of view. The Catimbau is also very, very important in biological, not anthropology, but in natural research is also very important. It's a national park in Brazil, the Catimbau, and how can we protect this rupestre building, because this not very well protected, Renato? And the Águas Belas, it's sort of very interesting, because you have had a lot of conflict, because you have a water supply tubulation that should cross this land, and it was not easy to negotiate with the Indian population. I don't know how is the situation now with Compesa. So I'm going to bring the biological and the environment conflict, the pressure in this area, and what could you propose? What can you learn from these people? That's just what I would like to complement. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria do Carmo. Yes, exactly, because we have in this project, we'll put together humanities, social science, but also natural sciences. And this is mandatory also, that we have to have these three approaches for these projects. And Maria do Carmo in this specific project is bringing the part of the natural sciences to this analysis. Now, as much as I would like to open the debate, we really don't have time for that. So so it's 11:25. Let's do a 10 minutes break, and then we reconvene at 11:35. I will say, so we'll then, when we come back, I would ask you to group in groups of 10, because I was counting you, and so we are more or less 40. Okay, so so one group goes there, another group goes here. Okay, one group will be with Marco, 10 people. Okay. Okay. And the fourth with not the here probably. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Good. 10 people per group. Okay. Thank you. And so you on Visio, so you will disconnect now from this link, and then you connect to each of your links. And thank you very much. And sorry for this pressure of the time, but
in how many minutes you go back to the other link?
So now in 10 minutes we go back. We go to the other. Okay. Thank you very
And
much.
until when? And until when?
We'll stay there until 12:30.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
See
Thank
you.
you. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Where are the links to the breakout?
I sent you
Groups?
that. I sent you that. In the email
Oh.
that I sent you with this one, you have the 3 links. You can choose
Okay.
one. You
Okay.
just choose one. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Merci. C'est difficile à contrôler. Je la connais bien, mais quand elle commence, c'est difficile de l'arrêter. Mais je l'aime bien, je l'aime très bien, on travaille ensemble, etc. Mais je sais déjà, mais quand j'ai une confiance avec elle, que je n'ai pas avec les filles, c'est pour ça que je parle avec elle. Je dis presque, c'est presque la première fois que je la vois, donc mais Margalit, c'est pas de là.
On a dans les petits groupes, en fait, parce que Nice, par exemple, il va donner, il va négocier avec discuter pour avoir les feedbacks. Soit à la fin,
Oui.
on va donner.
Oui, à la fin, oui, en écrit, ça serait fantastique, mais
Comme ça, on peut élargir notre
oui.
info. Et donc, du coup, moi, je vais parler de mon projet, les autres chacun va pas, ou bien je parle en général.
Non, tu vas parler de ton projet et de comment ton projet pourrait s'inscrire notamment dans la question de la durabilité, de penser oui, donc ce projet de TRIALOGOS, c'est clairement de voir comment on peut utiliser des paysages culturels, dans ton cas là pour le paysage culturel de Ganesha, et comment on peut retirer de là des exemples de formes de vie, de développement il y a une autre chose aussi très intéressante dans ton projet, et ça c'est, là c'est une séance de brainstorm, c'est seulement de voir comment, mais les tensions entre l'UNESCO et le projet et de différentes parties prenantes, c'est aussi très intéressant. Parce
qu'à chaque fois, l'idée c'était en fait de traiter la vallée comme un musée.
Exactement.
Et pas comme un lieu vivant qui va évoluer. Donc, du coup, on a arrêté l'histoire.
L'autre jour, je sais plus si je me souviens plus, mais on discutait.
Tu veux qu'on discute
oui.
en marchant?
Il y a aujourd'hui beaucoup de groupes ne veulent pas être héritage.
festival as well, girls as well proposed to have a small festival for a Nubian village and that local artists can contribute, and what has to focus not only on tourists, for the pèlerinage religieux, but also on the local population, and finally in our social enquête survey, to have 3 people: a priest, because he will have in the register who died, who lived, and this kind of database on the population; a sociologue /anthropologue that can have a double that can be from the UNESCO side and the university, and a person from the local community. This way, the social survey could represent more or less everybody. So this is what our brainstorming had. This is the result of our brainstorming. Thank you, everybody, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nada. I'll pass it now to Judith to very briefly wrap up what your discussions were, and so a little bit of feedback. Judith. You have to unmute yourself, so you are muted.
Okay, thank you very much. Very briefly, I will try to speak in English. I did my presentation of the project idea from Santiago de Cabo Verde. In the group, we collected experience from the different universities, namely University of Pelotas. Professor Lourdes was a rector of, and she could be very important for the group because she faced the same challenges with the installation of her university in a new campus far away from the city, similar to our case study. So we had the contributions of experience of Março with the integration into the community, suggestion to share an experience of participatory research in Indonesia with the elaboration of mind maps by the community, expressing their experience and expectation for the development of their areas, which could be introduced in the methodology to be developed by our project, Santiago project. So we had some questions about the methodology to integrate the community, some concerns about the approach, the theoretical approach, some elements of the group concerned about the difference in between integrate the community or involve the community. Our intent is to involve community in the process to make the project. So I think because we have not yet a project, we have the idea of project. We have here a very big challenge, and we will learn about the different experience with colleagues and integrate this space. Santiago and the southwest part of the city of Praia in the project TRIALOGOS, appropriating the methodology that we discussed. So it's what I can resume our discussion.
Okay, thank you, Judith.
Nuno?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like now to ask Mariam if you could give us a feedback from your session.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I think I spoke perhaps myself too much, but I was really focusing on the idea of the sustainable development. The third question: how cultural landscapes or the cultural landscape can actually address the issues of sustainable development. And I started by recapitulating Margalit's earlier presentation in terms of how artistic projects are actually trying to converge different disciplines, different people, different practices and lifestyle as part of within a kind of urban landscape, how they are doing that. And then I wanted to address the challenges of how cultural policies at the high kind of institutional level, such as UNESCO, are or might be able to integrate these kinds of perspectives from the artistic cultural project level to policy frameworks. And so basically for that, I was just, I have an overview of the cultural approaches to sustainable development at UNESCO, including those concerning environmental and urban resilience and social transformations. And so we talked about the different interpretations and policy frameworks around different expressions of culture or definitions of culture at UNESCO, and how those are being put into policy frameworks, which in the end there was objection in the group that those perhaps do not honor really the diversity of cultural experiences at the level of people who are living in various environments. And perhaps, as Louis suggested, perhaps the idea of having a cultural sustainable development goal as such is not going to be as transversally converging ideas as it might be actually diverging and diversifying or segregating culture as such. So I think that was my understanding, and the people and the few comments that we had in the group was that the idea was that the diversity of culture and cultural experiences would perhaps be suppressed rather than enabled by too much policy frameworks around culture and its role in sustainable development. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariam. Now I will go directly to Renato. Renato, so you can just share with us. I heard some music from your side, so can you share, switch on the sound? Yeah.
Very quickly, they ask you for music, they ask you for the instrument, musical instrument and everything about this expression of the culture, you know. And then I explained to them, and there was some question, but was very few minutes because we waited for the link, and was impossible to get in there, but finally we get. There is some students, I didn't know, I didn't quite know the audience, you know. And I explained, and the way how we work here with the indigenous people. I explained very, very simple way. And we work with indigenous people from the ethnographical situation. What is the ethnographical situation? Is a case, is a situation. But the ethnographic situation is not only the landscape, but the landscape, everything is the ritual, the social organization, the way how they treat they use the shamanism, everything is whole together, because there is no separation for them, and in terms of our methodology, no separation in terms of the culture and nature. There is no separation. Culture and nature is together. Most of the time, when we look, for example, the landscape, we look to the landscape, everything is about the landscape, but the people who is living there are behind the scenes, are behind the situation. And that is very difficult for work with indigenous people because they are protagonists. They want to be there. And in terms of our methodology, I'm trying to explain to them, work together with the people. If I'm work with health, I'm not to go there only observe, but I'm work with the shaman, with the people, the doctors, with the medicine. They understand of the medicine, not the Western medicine. You know, it's a very important, these methods, and also in collaborative way, all together with the indigenous people.
Okay, thank you.
Very quickly, I
Thank you.
was the second part of my, I cut down.
No, thank you, Renata, and sorry for the technical conditions. Yes, you lost half of the time. We lost half of the time just to try to get you connected, and so I'm very sorry for that. Now, so having had this discussion, and I was taking notes, and the idea is that we feed on these ideas to progress and to help us to constitute what will be the submission to the Belmont Forum when the call eventually comes out. Okay, so thank you for all of you to all of you for your participation. This was a little bit chaotic, but well, from chaos sometimes order can emerge. I found this exercise found it important at this stage of the project. So I would like all of you to thank you for all of your participation. You on Zoom, you here on this room, and I will pass it to Luis for the sessions of the afternoon because we have to close in 2 minutes. So thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you all for this morning, particularly to Nuno.
Nuno, a que horas é a sessão da tarde?
This afternoon we will be divided. The sessions run here. There will be a presentation of a movie. Hugo will introduce the movie, which basically it has been done as a result of a research project we had, and discusses the earliest art in Europe, and also the behind that the cultural interaction between Neanderthals and modern humans. It also includes reference to analytical techniques, so how science intervenes in this process. So you'll be here for that, and then there will be a discussion with my colleagues, and roughly by 4:30, something like that, you should go to ITM, to the research center, where Nada will, for those who have expressed their interest and follow, which are, I think, almost all of you, the workshop on physical anthropology will be with Nada from then on at ITM. In the beginning of the afternoon, for some of us, there will be a meeting with Nuno to work on the project, but this is only for a very few, and it will be in ITM. So the three of us and some others will be already in ITM. It means that we must finish our meeting before 5 o'clock, because Nada will need to go to this other thing. I think there was something else to tell you. Yes, I will say a little bit more about this in a couple of days, but I think the seminar, now I'm addressing specifically all the students that have prepared the essays. I was checking this morning, as I said, all the essays will be sent to a second of my colleagues for a sort of peer review. But after seeing the progress of the seminar, I believe that at least some of you might have the will to incorporate. We had discussed that already in the beginning, right? The final text is only in 1 month's time. But what I will do is I will give you now until Easter, so I will give you the next week, not to have the final text because I don't want to put that pressure on you, but if you want to incorporate something, still because some ideas came and might be useful for you, these debates, these discussions, you will send me a new file. So I will ignore the files that you have sent so far, because otherwise it's a confusion in my mind. So even if you don't want to change anything, next week you send me a new version of your texts. And that will be the version that I will give to my colleagues to do a review on. And then you will get their review and mine, and you can do the final version by 1 month. All right? This will be the trick. Okay. Have a nice lunch.